tough times don't last, but tough people do. The collaboration I did with McLaren was pretty fun. That really was a brand that elevated my brand.
This is the Spencer Couture Gallery. Joining me today is Spencer Couture Collins.
You're proud. You're happy when you see people look at it and take pictures of it. I get so many of my ideas in the shower. And that's one thing that I really fell in love with street art, is because it was the satire, was it the meaning behind it, the place that you put the piece. Anybody who runs a business, there are very, very tough times. You just got to have a positive mindset, know that there are going to be calmer days in the sea. It's just even more fulfilling that doing something that I love to do can take me to places all over the world. There's so much business side that goes into running a gallery that you kind of have to.
Today, the adventure of the Vegas Voices podcast brings us down to the Strip, and we're sitting in Mandalay Bay in a very special place. This is the Spencer Couture Gallery, and joining me today is Spencer Couture Collins, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Am I correct? So we're going to get into it. It is a cool name. Well, I mean, and by design, right? Any artists do things by design, I think. And we found Spencer through our adventures, just, through friends and stuff, and ended up in this gallery a few weeks ago and decided to come and interview him because he definitely is a Vegas voice and he definitely has to be heard, I think. So let's get on with it, man. Spencer, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be part of it. So thanks for asking me to be here.
You're welcome.
And come to the gallery.
Yes. And then we're going to be showing, as the podcast go, I'm pretty sure we're going to be showing a lot of stuff and we're going to go see your pieces.
Okay.
So for listeners who may not be familiar with your work, can you give us a quick snapshot of who you are and what you do in the art world?
Perfect. Yeah. So, kind of like elevator pitch real quick. My full name is Spencer Couture Collins. The gallery is called Spencer Couture. I've been in Vegas for about a little over 7 years now. Originally born and raised in Colorado. And pretty much what I do here is, I opened up this contemporary street art gallery where everything in the gallery is completely made out of spray paint. So it's graffiti based, but also the pieces that I paint are also not just painted on canvas, but I like to utilize different materials, such as, playing cards, pennies, guitar picks, golf tees, just things that I can utilize to make the art out of. So that's what makes art a little bit different. The art that I make here all has a story. I like to use a little satire, and I want the art to really speak to the viewer. So when you come into the gallery, you get close to the art, take pictures, you usually have a lot of music playing, and I just want people to have fun in here. I think a lot of art galleries are kind of stuffy, not very welcoming, and I wanted this place to be very welcoming for everybody in Vegas. It's
cool. So your legal name is Couture.
Yeah, that's actually my middle name.
What's the story behind that? And why is it such a defining element in your brand?
So I actually was, my mom gave me that middle name. I was actually named after my grandmother, great-grandmother, and her maiden name was Couture. So my mom really loved the name, and when I was born, she gave me it as my middle name. So I was doing art. Growing up, I used to go by a pseudonym called Nappy, N-A-P-E-Y. And once I got into starting to sell artwork and people started buying it, it was actually my mom who said, hey, I gave you the name Spencer Couture, why don't you use your name? So, decided to, take my mom's advice and use the name that she gave me. And so I signed everything S. Couture. And it's kind of interesting because when I got this gallery open, people would see Spencer Couture art and they thought it was like Spencer's Gifts, but now Spencer does
Oh, yeah, I remember that store. They don't exist. There are a few
I
left.
think the Spencers are still around. Not too sure, but I definitely am wanting to make sure that people know that this is not Spencer's Gifts, and I do not sell lava lamps or neon beads. So.
Have you ever looked at the definition of couture?
Yes, yeah, like how couture is about custom clothing and design and stuff like that. So. It just happens that I do custom artwork and painting. So my clothing is actually more with the cans and my canvases. So
you were destined to it. I thought you put it on. I was assuming that maybe you put the name on because you wanted to, but no, it actually comes.
Yeah, it just kind of happened to work out that way. So you know,
It's funny how life works, man.
legal name given to me, and you know, it works great for what I'm doing.
Excellent.
And the artist name.
Okay, cool. So you said you grew up in Boulder, Colorado, and I think you moved to San Diego.
Yes.
Before Vegas. How did each of these places shape your artistic career?
A lot actually. So it was in Boulder, which is interesting because Boulder doesn't really have that. It's more of a college city, right? There's not really too much art out there. But I was really introduced to graffiti by my brother, who was 6 years older than me.
Okay.
And so he started doing graffiti in 8th grade, and also being a young second grader, I wanted to do everything that my brother did. So I really loved graffiti. I got into it at a young age, and he grew out of it and stopped doing it, but it was something that was always a constant in my life that I was doing when I was in class or outside of school, just as a hobby and a passion of mine. And when I got into college, it was something that I kept doing, and people finally started to see it. I wouldn't really like promote it or market it, but people started to see my artwork, and then
Hold on. So you started doing graffiti. Was this in the street?
Yeah, I would go out and tag and do stuff like that in Boulder. Nothing like too crazy. I wasn't like
Okay, we won't give you up, but
yeah. But yeah, no, I would
so there's still pieces out there of your.
You know, when you do a piece, they don't like, some last for a long time, others get painted over quickly. So last time I did a piece in Boulder was probably 12, 13 years ago. So I doubt that any of my work is probably still up on those alleyways or buildings.
Because it's crazy, the graffiti culture. And I'm just remembering, I was just in New York about a couple months ago, and there was a building that was getting built, right? So you could still see it was cementy, and it was super tall. And some dudes went out and got up there and put on a whole piece. Not in one side, in all four sides.
On the side.
Different colors. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's some sort of death wish or love of art, or since you're in that world, how does it work? Because it was just stunning to see this building under construction at the top of it. Like, I can imagine how they got off security, how they were able to get up there, at what time, all that stuff. How can you?
Yeah, I mean, by no means was I ever that crazy when I was like hanging off the sides of overpasses or buildings. But when you're doing graffiti and art like that, a lot of it's more about the thrill. You know, it's definitely about your artistic creation. But it's also about the thrill of pulling it off and letting the world see your image, right? So I think a lot of it is adrenaline based. But then again, I was never ballsy enough to.
You don't seem very adrenaline. You seem artistic, but I don't see you as a very
right. Yeah. So, for example, I mean, I was not the guy who was on the sides of those buildings doing that. So I think it's amazing. I love when people do that, especially when it looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but when you're going out and like throwing a tag out, a lot of it is adrenaline rush. Making sure that you have the wall set up, you know exactly how you're going to get in there, get out without getting seen. But that was stuff I was doing more when I was like in high school and college and stuff like that.
Cool. So let's get back to those times. So then what was the rush like after your first like nice mural that you put out? How does that?
It's like, you're proud, you're happy to see, completed. You're happy when you see people look at it and like kind of study it and take pictures of it. But also it's just like a self of accomplishment, like, getting something done and getting your pieces out there.
And people try to find meaning, and it's something that is out there. It's anonymous. People try to find meaning. I mean, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Street art and graffiti art is such amazing artwork that I think sometimes has a negative connotation to it. And there are some really, really amazingly talented artists out there. And it's pretty amazing what you can do with spray cans. And I think that art should be celebrated. I think it deserves to be on the walls in museums and office buildings and people's houses, just as much as any other type of art form.
Very cool. So let's keep going back. So tell me more. We're in Boulder, high school. Let's pick up that.
Yeah. So I was in Boulder, graduated high school, and then decided to get out of Boulder and went to San Diego.
Okay.
And San Diego is actually where the art really kind of started to take off for me more in a career-wise, where people started to take more interest of it and noticing it. And when I was in college, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life. Art was always something I was doing as a passion. But when I went to school, I went to school for business, and I was taking all these courses I really didn't particularly care about. And so I decided to drop out, and I was always very social, so I got into nightlife. I used to start marketing and running nightclubs back in San Diego.
Okay.
And through that, I was able to build a lot of good contacts, connections, and that's when I was able to kind of utilize my skills with throwing events and running events, with also throwing art events. So I started scenes called pop parties, where we do events once every 6 months, but it wouldn't be just like a stuffy art event. It would be like a party with art. So I'd get cocktail servers, DJs. I would reach out to people in the city who like to go out, like to have fun, and invite them to these art events. And it kind of picked up and became like a cool event once or twice a year. And then that kind of graduated into, okay, maybe I should open a gallery, because I always wanted to kind of own and run my own gallery. Because every single time I go in galleries, I always felt kind of not welcomed, or as if maybe I shouldn't be in there, or I can't talk, I can't take a picture, can't get close to art, feel stupid if I have to ask a question, what does this splatter mark here like represent? And so I decided to kind of just go my own artistic path and do it my way, and opened a little gallery in San Diego and did well, and decided to branch out to Vegas, and now here we are. So
tell me more or less time-wise when this happened in San Diego.
What, like the
what years?
Oh, like kind of like the transition of like taking the art more to the next level.
Yeah.
It really kind of got really going for me in like 2015, 2016.
Okay.
That's when people kind of stopped seeing me as more just as some guy who like runs the door and the nightclub, as more of like an artist. When I threw my first art event, and that's when I really started to go, instead of going out, I can't stay in, I'm gonna stay in and just continue doing more art, and that's when the art really kind of started to really eclipse anything else I was doing in my life. And I decided at that time that if this is what I want to do for a living, I'm young, it's my passion, go for it. So it wasn't really about like chasing the dollars. It was more about chasing my happiness and, doing something that I love doing. So I just decided to go head first into it and haven't stopped.
Cool. Tell me about coming to Vegas. Tell me the story behind that.
So, decided to move to Vegas. I had a good friend of mine at the time who told me, he's like, hey, I think the art would do well in Vegas. And I came out to Vegas to open up this nightclub called Omnia Las Vegas. And I was out here for a couple months doing that. And I noticed that Vegas has everything that's really amazing in the world. They kind of take it and they try to put it in this 3-mile strip, right? Yes. So one thing I was really noticing was that the one thing it was kind of lacking, it didn't really have too much of artwork, at least on the Las Vegas strip. And so I thought it was like a good niche market to get into. Over 40 million people a year, I think it's more than that now, come to Las Vegas from all over the world. So it's a really unique place where you can really touch all corners of the world. And so I decided to figure out a way to open up a gallery out here in Las Vegas.
Okay. How did this place happen? Is this your first attempt, or were you in somewhere else before?
This is I was looking at various places. It was hard to get the meetings going, get your foot in the door. And there were some times when I thought I had a spot locked down, and then right when I was about to open or about to sign the contracts, everything just kind of crumbles, right? And then you kind of got to start over again. So I had a friend who is here at MGM who said that there's a spot open here at Mandalay. And when I was opening, I was looking for a gallery. I was looking for something that, maybe 1,000 square feet, something that I could fit, 15, 20 paintings into. And so when I saw this place, it's big. It's like 2,500 square feet. And
it's huge.
It was a little overwhelming, but it was a space that was available. And, when the opportunity come knocking, I didn't want to pass it up. So I just jumped on it and took a chance and said, do it. Let's do it.
How many years have you been here? In this particular location?
So I've been in this gallery for about 2 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been in Vegas for about 7 years.
Oh, wow. Wow. And did this all come true? What they say that the art would do well in Vegas?
Yeah, the art, yes. You know, and a lot of it was just about affirmations.
Okay.
I always had a positive mindset, and a lot of times I don't know how I was going to do it, how it was going to happen, or, you know, what was it going to look like. But you just was always thinking about it, always like envisioning it in my mind. And yeah, we're in year 2 now and got the gallery open. That was the hard part, but now the gallery's open. Now it's like the really hard part. It's okay, the dream has come true, but now how do we retain the dream? How do we make the dream continue?
Got it. That's amazing. So your work is often described as contemporary street art. How would you personally define your style, and what draws you to the energy and aesthetic of the street?
Well, I think you kind of answered the question with your question. I would call it like contemporary street art because street art, because I do use graffiti, spray paint. These pieces all originate from me doing graffiti, and they're pieces that speak to today's culture. And that's one thing that I really fell in love with street art, is because it was the satire, was like the meaning behind it, the place that you put the piece goes, like, you know, wherever you put your artwork up next to the building, like that, those places align to make the image even more impactful, right? So just how I incorporate different materials with golf tees or guitar picks, I do that with the canvas, just kind of like how I do with people with street art, with how they put the placement. So to answer your question, if I think I did, it would like, yeah, just contemporary urban art with the spray paint. Because that's where it started for me, was with spray paint, and I wanted to carry that on and showcase that, you know, spray paint art is gallery quality art that should be celebrated, and it should be looked at as a positive way instead of a negative connotation.
So I was thinking, when you were saying places have to do a lot with what you do, right? Is there any place in Vegas on the outside yet that you have a mural? Is there any other than
yeah, it's actually I'm actually about to start a giant mural just off of Las Vegas Boulevard in
no way,
in downtown Las Vegas. So I'm gonna be doing about, it's probably like 30-40 feet wide.
Wow.
So that's gonna be starting here very soon, probably in the next like coming weeks actually. So
what location? Where is it gonna be?
it's gonna be on Las Vegas Boulevard, and oh my gosh, I think it's Commerce. I don't know the exact. It's right by the Broken Yoke.
Okay.
That just opened up.
Okay.
I don't know the exact cross streets, but that's going to be coming to fruition in a couple weeks. So that would be like the first one that people will see in the Las Vegas Old Town district. But I've done like murals back in San Diego. Did a good friend of mine's house out here in Las Vegas too, which is like a giant wall in his garage. But this one will be the first one that will be like outside for the public to view in Las Vegas.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, so you have to come back and check it out when it's complete. Maybe by the time you roll this podcast, it might be done.
So fast? Is it something that's, I mean, what's the plan? Can you tell us what you're going to paint there, or is it as...
Yeah, so what I want to do is, I really like balloons. It's interesting, balloon letters, right? So what I want to do is, I'm actually, when I do my artwork, I use a lot of photography to kind of get the perspective right. So the idea is I'm actually going to take all of these like blow up balloons, and then I'm going to say, it's going to say Vegas baby.
Ooh.
And then I'm going to take these balloons that say Vegas baby, and I'm going to take it down to Fremont Street. And then I want to take a picture of the balloons that show like the reflection of the lights of Fremont Street. And then from that picture, I'm going to paint Vegas baby huge on this wall. So that's the concept. And the designing part's actually the hardest part of it. And then once the design's done, then for me to paint it, it will probably take me about a week to do it.
No way. Wow.
So I'm always like posting about how I make the artwork, and so people can follow along and see how the artwork comes to fruition.
Wow, man. No, we're going to have to come and put some footage of that, or get you on a second interview after that. Cause
yeah, it'd be cool if I'm on scaffolding.
Now you're like a Vegas renowned artist in Vegas. the whole thing.
Yeah, and I wanted this piece to be because I feel like that's like really popular saying, like Vegas, baby, yeah, you know. And I remember back when I was in high school, my senior year of prom, we did a Vegas night back in Colorado, and that was like something we were always yelling during the prom. So it kind of is a play on my background growing up, I think too. So
thank you for sharing that, man. That's amazing. So we're gonna keep going. I want to know more about your art. So the questions are going more towards that. Which artists, music genres, or even social influences influence you the most when you're conceptualizing a piece?
So I always like to have my finger on the pulse with what's going on in the news.
Okay, so the zeitgeist in the environment, whatever's happening.
Yeah, what's happening. You know, I like to put a lot of satires into my artwork, right? So when we walk around the gallery, I'll kind of show you some paintings and kind of give you an example of that. But I get my inspirations, man, all over the place. And it's interesting, before you started recording, you said something about how you were talking about you're getting your podcast started and an idea came to you in the shower.
Yeah.
I get so many of my ideas in the shower. It's so interesting that you said that, because sometimes when I'm in the shower, I won't be thinking about anything, and then all of a sudden the ideas will pop in. So if I'm like watching a news clip and then maybe I'm in the shower, and then all of a sudden an idea will pop about that news clip that I saw weeks ago, right? And I'm like, oh, that'd be a good idea to incorporate that into an art piece or something like that, right? So, yeah, I'm like a sponge. I like to see what's going on in today's culture, if it comes to music, fashion, news, and I like to put that into my artwork.
For example, sakes, let's say, can you explain to me this one?
Yeah, so
the process behind it?
So this piece right here, this one's called positive reinforcement.
Okay.
And for me, it's like, you know, it's all these police officers and riot shields, and then on the left one says you're at here, while all these other ones have these giant corporations with their branding all over it. And it's a play on marketing and how if you have enough money, you literally can push your agenda, you can push your image anywhere and everywhere, and you have to look at it, right? Yeah. So by having your ad here on a shield of a riot police, is like, hey, you know, if you have enough money and influence too, we can also push your agenda as well. And it's hard as an artist to get your artwork out there and get people to get eyes on it and get exposure. So that's also kind of a play on that too.
Right.
Right. Like the more money you have, the easier it is to get your product out there.
And it's funny that it's just like in the back of the gallery too, because we're in the back. You're going to get to see the whole, it's a whole open space that I'm seeing in front of me, and it's amazing. But for lighting reasons and everything, we chose here. So it's funny that it's also like here in the back, right?
No, I like the back here. This is a great area. I remember I was like, do you want this corner? Yeah. Show more of the gallery. But this corner is great too, because also like behind the wall is, again, I'm really big into affirmations and positivity. So behind it is my affirmation wall. So it's just all of these quotes that really motivate me and other people when they come in here. And
Hell, keep going.
Yeah.
Which one is your favorite?
You know, probably the first one I wrote was "Tough times don't last, but tough people do."
Okay.
And that was a quote that my dad told me in high school when I didn't make the basketball team, and I was like devastated, you know. And that quote always kind of stuck with me, and it's so true, because you know, anybody who runs a business, there are very, very tough times.
I know.
Very tough times and very scary times, and you just got to have a positive mindset and know that there are going to be like calmer days in the sea. So I like that quote. That's why I wrote that one first, actually, on the wall.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. Wow. Every single question just brings out a little more of you that just surprises me and gives me so much more reverence for what you're doing, brother. It's my respects. You definitely are a very good voice.
Thank you.
So then, often your pieces begin as collages of images that tell a story, right? Can you walk us through how you collaborate when you do client work? Because it's more custom, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what's the process?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. So when to get this gallery going, I had to do a lot of custom work. And from that custom work, I was able to save up and then open this place. So how it works is I have a sit-down meeting with the client, and I really want to get to know the client. I want to get to know who they are, you know, what are factors that motivate them to be where they are now. I want to get to know what the theme of the painting is, right?
Right.
And then also I'll ask for photographs. Like, hey, give me all the pictures. Say, for example, if you wanted to do a painting, portrait, right? Obviously, portraits are easy. I'm like, well, just give me the picture, right? But then instead of just painting the picture, I'm like, okay, well, let me know more about it. Like, where are you from? Like, is this you and your wife? Oh, where did you guys meet? You know, I can put that in the background. And so like the more context I have about the client, the more the piece will resonate with the client. And for me, I want to like remove my ego and be like, oh, well, I think this looks best. I want the painting to be the best painting for that client for the wall. So it's something that they'll want for years and years and pass on to their kids. So for me, the more insight I have from the client and the better, more pictures they show me and the more details they give me about the color schemes, the more it gives me to go off of what they want. And so communication.
It's communication, and then you might have, I guess, I don't know if I would do it, let's say, I'd give you facts and figures and whatever, and I let you come up with whatever. I don't know if clients are like that, or they want something particular, or...
Yes, some people are like, hey, you know, this is my wall. I really don't know what I want. Like, just make it Vegas themed, you know?
That's so broad.
So sometimes those work fine too, you know, it kind of gives you more creative freedom to go off and make the pieces. And then there are clients who like want a very specific thing, right? But it's just all about getting down to exactly knowing what they're kind of looking for. And then also I'll do a mock-up. So before I ever even start like putting cans on a piece, I'll do like a rendering for them.
Oh.
And then I'll send it to them. And I'm like, hey, this is kind of the idea. Like, what do you think? And then I'll get more input from them. Because sometimes it's a client that's like, I have no idea what I want. That are the most picky ones, you know?
I know.
So doing a rendering helps out a lot. It helps save a lot of time. And nothing's more annoying than when like you're deep into a painting and all of a sudden they want to go a completely different direction.
Oh,
and
my
it's like, well, yeah, this is like a second painting then, you know? So I don't really do any artwork until I send them a rendering and they like sign off on the rendering.
Fantastic. So you've worked with everyone from Little John to McLaren, Don Julio, Sephora, and more. Which collaboration stands out as particularly meaningful or transformative?
You know, I think the collaboration I did with McLaren was pretty fun because that really was a brand that elevated my brand a lot. Okay. Right? And especially for what they gave me McLaren that I could just go and do any artwork on. So that was really amazing and kind of really got my artwork out to a different type of clientele. So that was a really, really fun collaboration.
Tell me a story. How did that happen?
So I have a really good friend who was in the car industry, and I did an art event at this place that I used to park cars at when I was in college. And they gave me the venue on a Wednesday, and it was a really successful event. It was fun. We had a lot of people come through, and she reached out to me and she's like, hey, I know you want to do another art show. Like, how would you like to partner up with McLaren? They're coming out to San Diego and they want people to know that like they're opening up a McLaren dealership. And I was like, yes. So
1,000.
Sometimes I'm always, and this sometimes shoots me in the foot, but I always like to say yes. But now I'm learning how to say no to certain projects and things. But that was one project I was like super stoked and very happy to even be thought about for that event. And so they gave they told me the car that they wanted, and then I had to do a bunch of different renderings. And McLaren is very, very specific and with their branding and what they want. So getting to know that client and what the specifics were was also helped me learn how to deal with all different types of clients. Right. So that one I learned a lot about how to deal with, corporate executives, how the design process works from there from a marketing team and their standpoint to what they want, to also try to coattail, my artistic ability and to work with them.
So then you painted all these, how many cars did you get to
so we did one McLaren.
Okay.
And then we actually placed it outside of the venue that I did the art show. And then
the McLaren and picked on part of other pieces from you.
Yeah, so the McLaren was like the
centerpiece.
The centerpiece. It's where people enter, everybody walk past the McLaren, they take pictures with it, and then they would venture upstairs to the art show. Gotcha. And then also I painted all these race helmets too. Mm-hmm. Another thing too, this is, they asked this question, but one thing that I do every single time I do an art event or a show is, for me, it's all about the invites. So when I do a show, I don't try to just like do a digital flyer and blast it. I'll make 50 or 60 custom individual invites that are painted. So they're like pieces of art that, you know, you give to people, and then they want to hold on to it to put on their mantle. And then other people will see those pieces and like, oh, that's cool. What's that event? Or what was that? And gets people talking. So I did that for the art event with McLaren, where they gave me a bunch of race helmets. So I painted a bunch of these race helmets and gave them to very specific people in the city as gifts, but also as invites. So that also helped generate kind of awareness.
Wow.
So that I carry on to all other shows and events that I do now too.
Wow. That's an amazing story, man. So on the community and philanthropy side of you created murals in the Philippines to inspire children and raise awareness about climate change. Things are like changing in the other way in the culture now. So I don't know what you see, but I might want to get into that. Can you share what that experience was like, and why is giving back through your art important to you?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny. It really is so true that giving back really is just, it's so fulfilling, right? And it's just even more fulfilling that doing something that I love to do can take me to places all over the world, like the Philippines. And I was really, really honored to be asked to be part of this project by actually a good friend of mine who also was a client of mine who does work out in the Philippines. And we went to this place called Mandalay Bay. And if you haven't been to the Philippines, they're like the nicest, most hospitable people. Just so nice. And it's very, in certain areas, very impoverished area. And where we went to in Mandalay Bay was, they're struggling out there. And they used to make most of their economy was from rice fields. But, I don't know if it was a tsunami or an earthquake happened, and the rice I guess it's one and the same, right?
Yes.
Flooded the rice fields, right? But because of climate change, the water never ascended. So Mandalay Bay just stayed, majority of it underwater up to like 2-3 feet. And
so an actual consequence of climate change.
Of climate change, yeah. Okay. So these people are literally, like, their houses are now just submerged in water, but there's not a lot of resources out there. So a lot of them still live in these houses, and they wear like water boots.
They figure it out.
And figure it out. And they are so happy when you go and meet them. They're so nice. They'll give you the shirt off their back. And so my friend was like, hey, we want to come out there. We want to show awareness of what's happening here in Mandalay Bay. And we want to do artwork to get eyes on this place. So I went out there and painted up this basketball court with a couple other artists. And when I went out there, I really didn't really know what I had an idea what I wanted to do. But then when I got there and I met the people and I saw the hospitable how happy they were, I decided to go a different venture with my design process. And I did this giant wall with all these smiling faces, and then it says "smile" in the balloons. And that was a play on showcasing how they are just so happy when they have so little. And it's pretty eye-opening.
It's amazing that you went and did that. Wow. So street art is very mainstream now these days, especially in Vegas. It's getting more mainstream now. We know you're putting up a public mural and all that. Where do you see the genre going, since you're such a leader in the space?
I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger, and it's going to showcase a lot more talented artists out there. And I think a lot of spaces that you wouldn't normally see artwork are going to start popping up. I think a lot more murals are going to be coming out, because that's what the people want. The public loves it, especially if it has a meaning, if it's done well. People will be receptive to it. You know, I think the graffiti art is changing. I think a lot of it, instead of it just, being a tag and running away, it's now more about telling a story. And I think if that story is told well, and the public lets these artists do this artwork and actually be able to have the time and the resources to put something beautiful up, it's going to carry on. And more cities, more office buildings are going to allow these artists to be painting. So I just see street art and art as a general going to be a lot more prevalent throughout major cities.
It's cool. So touching on that, how do you imagine the next 5 to 10 years? What's the vision for your brand? What are you looking most forward to achieving, creating, making?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So just one thing, I never want to stop being creative. One thing that has kind of pulled me back a little bit is there's so much business side that goes into running a gallery that you kind of have to put the creativity and the painting and the cans down to make sure that the business is running sustainably. You know, you're getting their payments through, paying off staff, you know, all that stuff, marketing.
Yes.
So I just want to be sure that in 5 years, I want to build the brand. I want to build the awareness. I would love to open up, you know, a couple other galleries and other spaces. But also I want to continue being creative. And I think one thing that the art is really going to start doing is I'm starting to really transform away from canvases but also painting on movable materials. So I think with the artwork you'll see in the upcoming years will be different, not just in the materials that I use, but also like in the shapes that I use too. So instead of just doing generic, you know, rectangles or squares, you'll start seeing different shapes of canvases as well.
Got it. You're right. Everything is square right now. So
yeah, but you know, you'll see like the peace hands, right? Like those are all.
Oh yeah, the hands over there.
And then I had another piece in there that was a giant circle, a giant smiley face.
Yeah, true.
And
So that is a canvas in so many ways. You're right. Wow. There's just so many things I don't know about art, to be honest.
And honestly, I mean, I never went to art school, and it's interesting running a gallery. People will come in here, people who went to art school, and they'll say some prestigious school that I've just never even heard of, you know?
Huh?
And they're asking me all these artistic questions, and it's just one of those things that I just do it. I don't
Just do it.
just do it. And I think artists need to do it.
It's very true. Let's do some rapid fire, okay?
Okay.
Favorite color palette right now?
Favorite what?
Favorite color palette?
Oh gosh, favorite color palette. I'm gonna have to say turquoises and greens.
Cool. Go to music when you're painting.
90s hip hop.
A must-visit art destination besides your gallery here in Vegas.
Here in Vegas, I mean, the art, oh my gosh, the art, downtown, the art district is awesome. And just go down the alleys. They have amazing art in the alleys in the arts district.
Cool. Have you been there? Have you put any pieces over there?
Not recently. Last time I did one, I did like this piece like 3 years ago. It's funny, I don't really have time for the walls anymore because they take so much time. And I want to keep the walls filled in the gallery. So I mostly keep all the artwork on the canvases. But I have done some pieces down there. But when you do a piece in art district, it gets painted over quickly too. So depending on where you're painting it.
Okay. What's the biggest misconception about street art?
That it's, there's a lot. That it's vandalism, that it's gang related, that it's not art, because it is art. And a lot of it's not vandalism. A lot of it takes a lot of thought, a lot of creativity, and a lot of it is definitely not gang related either.
Perfect. And last rapid fire, one word that describes your art.
Colorful.
Okay. Very good. So, how can people visit your gallery, follow you on social, or commission custom artwork?
I'm pretty big on Instagram, so if you need to reach out to me, you know, you can follow me on Instagram, shoot me a message, Spencer Couture Arts. You can also come and visit the gallery in person. We're open 7 days a week from 10 to 11. It's located in the shops at Mandalay Bay, so you can come anytime you want and enjoy the artwork and hopefully leave inspired and, you know, had a good time while you're in here.
Spencer, thank you for being part of our show.
Hey, thank you for having me part of it. It's awesome to be here, so thank you. Appreciate it.